The story plays out pretty much how my life played out at that time. I was an assistant in Vancouver, and I was a few years into assisting at that time, and so productions knew me. So every kind of big director or producer that came into town, I'd get called in to interview for the job. I was assisting the executive producer on this film, Walking Tall, starring The Rock. And we were close to being done shooting, and we were out partying one night, and the director was like, move to LA, be my assistant in LA. We'll work at MGM. You can see a movie through post, which I've never done before. I never saw a film through post production. I've seen TV. I've been in the editing room for TV and color correcting TV and balancing sound and all that kind of stuff before. But never like this was a huge blockbuster MGM picture, right? Um, Also, the idea of working at MGM, it's the most iconic film studio in the world, arguably. They move the movie studio structure what it is today. They made the Oscars. So the prospect of moving to Los Angeles and being in that environment was so enticing, and I jumped at the chance. So when I got to LA, and it's all in the book, it was great. My life wasn't as fun as Charity's life. There was no love interest. Couldn't even afford my own apartment. I was renting a room out of a lady's house. But anyways, so it just plays out exactly the way it does in the book, where the director asks me to bring a copy of the film to a test screening. At this point, the film is very close to being finished, and I get pickpocketed at the screening. So, but I think I just lost the film. And then I'm under FBI investigation and everything falls apart. In reality, I didn't come out on top. I ended up moving back to Vancouver. I met a man named Gabe Sachs in Los Angeles, and he was filming a TV show called Life as We Know It that was being shot in Vancouver. And he's like, "You wouldn't want to move back to Vancouver, would you?" And I was like, "Yes, please." I was broke. I was alone. I was so beaten up by LA that moving back home, moving back in with my parents and licking my wounds seemed like the right move to do. So that's what I did. Yeah, I think it was cathartic. It was very therapeutic in a way because the whole experience was traumatizing. It was really, really scary. It was the worst part of my professional life. I did think that my career was going to be over because of it. Revisiting it as an older woman with a lot more under my belt in the film industry, especially, I, came to realize that I was very self-involved in that process as a 20-year-old. I was just thinking about how it affected me. I was just talking to my boss yesterday, and I said to him, I was like, man, I have so much respect for you and how you handled that because he never lost it on me. Like we were both to blame, but I lost the DVD, you know? And he never lost on me. He was just such a kind, lovely man the whole time. And he was getting married within like months. He was starting a family. He just bought a new home. Like he had all of these responsibilities piling up on him, and I could have ruined his career, you know? And then I look at the executives at MGM and all of these men who've had decades of experience under their belt, and they have to answer to a board, and they could all be fired. So it makes Charity a richer character. I was able to write her with more maturity than I had back in the day. So it makes her far more likable than I think I was in that situation because she is feeling guilty about how her actions affect all the people around her. Whereas when I was in my 20s in this situation, all I could think about was how it affected me. I just loved writing Saffron. Um, she was a great tool for me. Uh, to be able to write a villain to bring out Charity's anxiety because like I had so much anxiety going into working at MGM. I've never been in an office building before. Like that kind of corporate environment blew my mind. I thought I was gonna go to LA and I'd be on a studio lot. So, but in reality, MGM is like I think it's a 37-story high rise in Century City. And so there aren't, it doesn't lend to a very creative atmosphere, which so I'm not very comfortable in that environment, right? It was very corporate, very structured, like guys in suits going to work. And then in the building within MGM is all these other corporate entities of like entertainment lawyers and managers and agencies. Like, so everybody is just, it's show business. It's not filmmaking, it's show business. So being put in that environment gave me a lot of stress. Writing Saffron was my ability to show how stressed out Charity is in this environment. She's a great villain. I loved writing her so much. I also really loved writing Kai. I love so much. And while this isn't necessarily a romantic book by any stretch of the imagination, it certainly is more of a story about a young woman in her quest for success in the industry that she wants to be in. The love story is certainly a B story. And writing Kai and Charity just gave me that like levity of being able to take breaks from the stress of work and getting into like the bubbly feelings of exploring love and new relationships. So I think that that comes off the page really well, how much fun I had writing those scenes. It's so great to just be able to, I mean, the fuck off scene, like telling your boss to just like not that I would ever say that to my boss on Walking Tall. He was a lovely gentleman, but certainly like Casper's character embodied, some of the people that I've worked with in my life who I would just love to tell to fuck off. Can I say that on the podcast? Okay. Um, so that was just such a great one to write because when you're like in a fight with somebody and days later you wake up in the middle of the night, you're like, oh, this is how I should have said it. Like that's what writing is. It's you're able to give your character the perfect thing to say. So that's what that was. I mean, certainly Charity does not say the perfect thing all the time, which is normal, but that was I felt redeemed.